Oof. Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Dominate League. Tonight we have some quality action for you, as always, between the team that could and the United Apes of America. Apologies there. With me tonight.
Yeah, you gotta get your southern drawl ready for this. It's gonna be quite a match, gotta admit. We're on to a new season, a new league time, and some teams fresh out of training.
Yeah, no, we're pretty excited to see what the teams are going to pull out here. We know Ari's not going to be one of the things. It's pretty much a signature one-trick champion on everybody. Kind of sits in that plat and below region.
Yeah, seeing Ari being banned out, I don't know exactly how I feel about it. That's probably targeted towards somebody onto United Apes of America. But, yeah.
Now, Darius, the next ban, I think Darius speaks more towards actually the top laner out of United Apes of America being more afraid of playing against Darius than being a one-trick. I'm sure he has a smaller champion pool if you're willing to ban Darius, but that's something you tend to be afraid of. In Riven, the instant ban, they actually think that they're banning Darius to protect the Riven pick.
Well, the Darius ban is actually a targeted ban towards Astro Hailstorm. The dude has over 55 games on Darius already in the new season, so he's definitely well versed in his Darius play, so getting rid of that strong of a lane bully is not something they took lightly. But the Riven being the obvious ban you want to take out because she will just dominate top lane if a Darius isn't there.
Yeah, now Yasuo going to be banned out. Now this pick actually so strong that it can go everywhere. The issue is it's kind of a patch by patch basis with him, right? Like he gets too strong and then he's too weak, and then they buff crit items and then they nerf him again, and then they're like, yeah, we're gonna rework him, and it's been kind of fun.
And of course, there's always the my Yasuo versus your Yasuo conundrum. When he's on your team, he feeds, and when he's on the enemy team, he carries.
Hey, he's been in competitive play, and he's been a viable pick. I think he actually has kind of like shedded that mold a bit. That's kind of dying.
Nah, it's like the old meme, better nerf Irelia. It'll never die. It'll just take on a new form.
So,
but we are getting into some of the picks right now, and so Yorick being picked up, I really like that one. He doesn't bring too much to a team fight, but the split push, he's able to threaten two lanes at the same time, especially since, you know, he can use that Maiden of the Mist to just send her down a lane, and she lasts for God knows how long, just forever, man.
Yeah, so the Maiden really helps in the 2v1 situation too. I don't know if we're really going to see the 1-4-1 Yorick, but maybe we will today. Now, Xin Zhao Orianna locked in. Xin Zhao to me more speaks a solo queue pick, but if you practice it a lot and you're willing to impact your lanes, it can be strong. The issue is, with team support, it's really hard to oppress the enemy jungler, honestly, on Xin Zhao. Caitlyn, I think, though, strong pick.
Yeah, Caitlyn is a very strong pick, a good long-range sieging champion, and very safe as well, being able to be in that back line and reposition with her net. The Xin Zhao is, as you said, a very aggressive pick, but he also serves as a pretty good ball carrier for the Orianna combo, because he can immediately dash in, and if he has a ball on him, well, that's going to be a nice little combo. But it is risky because Xin Zhao is all about that early game domination. If you go even on Xin Zhao, you're falling behind, and that's essentially what it comes down to.
Yeah, now we do see Sion picked up too, so it seems like they're really just trying to pick up more ball delivery systems, as if Sion needed more of those. And we're going to see the bans coming out too. So now Rammus, I'm actually kind of confused by the Rammus ban. They have an Orianna and a tank, but maybe that's just something that they're afraid of the engage. Pyke and Nami, though, at least they're targeting out the support pool here.
Well, the Rammus ban I can somewhat see. He has enough survivability early on in the game to where his team could rotate towards him in the jungle if his Xin Zhao starts to jump him. But other than that, Rammus is actually kind of an easy kill for his Xin Zhao if he knows the pathing and all that. And when it comes to Rammus's engage, sure, he's a bit of a terror when it comes to ganking on the lanes, but after it gets to team fights, he has a bit of a harder time when you're trying to get past that wall of a Sion, and, you know, it's, or an Orianna just slowing you down to a crawl. interesting to see banned out here. I think they could have worked around it, especially with the team comp they have, but they just want to take it off the field.
Yeah, now, as we do see the Nunu kind of locked in, I'm a little more afraid. I think that Nunu poses a much bigger threat to the Xin Zhao, especially once level 6 kind of comes about, right? As long as you're able to outplay that knock up on the Q and wait out the ultimate, but honestly, I think a Nunu ultimate for a Xin Zhao ultimate feels okay a lot of time. Now, as the comps are rounded out, though, I think Galio kind of says a lot of what this composition wants to do.
And what do you think that composition wants to do?
Oh, so they're going to play around their cooldowns. Every champion here has an ultimate. Every ultimate's impactful except for Lucian. That's wave clear. And they're going to just fight around those. Now, the question's really going to be is, with these champions who actually really aren't ultimate dependent at all, except for maybe Yorick, right? A little bit. And Azir for engage, but Azir isn't your main engager. I actually think that Nunu and Braum can like do a decent job of that together. They're really going to have to be able to just make sure that they're fighting when these cooldowns are down, and that they're making them force them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think we've all seen that before, though.
Well, going off a bit about that, let's talk a bit about the dynamics we're going to see in the laning phase, and the jungle especially that we're going to be seeing. So, over in the bottom lane, on the team that could, we have a very easy lane. We have a Caitlyn, Braum. Braum's going to be able to get his passive onto a Galio very easily, or even a Lucian if he lends his Q. And Caitlyn can proc that passive extremely easily. So they have a very safe laning phase. They can harass from afar, they can farm safely, they don't really have to engage. Whereas United and the Apes of America, oh, I messed up now too. Galio is an interesting kind of support because he doesn't bring any... He brings Peel and CC, but he doesn't bring any ability to make his AD carry more survivable or sustain. And that's sort of what happens when you bring champions that have less supporting abilities down to the bottom lane. You're bringing kill pressure for less supporting.
Well, I'm pretty sure we've loaded up into the game here, and the champions are coming onto the Rift. Now, as we're just going to run down these sides real quick. For our blue side, we have Astro Hailstorm, champion 701. I'm pretty sure that's an area code. Hail Rhino in the mid lane. Toaster Oven going to be putting on his big boy pants on Caitlyn in the ADC role. And Dank Candle will be lighting up the map in support.
And meanwhile, for United Apes of America, we got Dwayne Charles on some Eternabilis, Xin Zhao, Dome Crow 3 on Orianna, Guashua on Lucian, and the boosted one on Galio.
Yeah, now we're expecting impeccable macro here as always. It's really what this division is known for.
Yeah, so we're seeing a really safe opening here. Everybody guarding the openings to their in for those cheeky level 1 5-man. A little ward there in the river, making sure no one's going to invade on his red. But it looks like that's actually bait as he's pathing down towards blue. So he's making them think that he's starting at red, but is actually going to start on blue side. That might come into play for that level 3 gank onto Astro Hailstorm.
Now, it looks like we're going to be getting this red buff, blue buff, classic bot lane start for the junglers. Yorick will be delaying his come into the top lane, but I don't think it's actually going to speak to anyone saying that he started there, because the bot lane will be coming late too.
Yeah, and when we're talking about how late they are showing up, Yorick shows up well before the first minions die, whereas bottom lane has a much longer period of time before they showed up, so any jungler worth their salt would be able to easily recognize that Toaster Oven and Dank Candle were leashing for their champion 701.
Yeah, now, as we see here in the mid lane, the level 2 does come first over to Dom Crow, and he's going to be using every bit of that advantage to try and poke out Rhino, and he does take a life lead because of it, just trades his mana for it.
So it's a bit interesting to see Eternabilis. He's actually going for a full clear in his jungle, despite, you know, being a Xin Zhao, you want to rush that level 3 advantage and just go immediately for a gank. Now, he could still be going for that, but as he paths towards Scuttle, Okay.
Oh, beautiful knock up there by the Scion. Now, I do think that the Scuttle Clear is very viable. You always want to make sure that you get one of those as a jungler. It's kind of the way that you make sure that you at least go. Even if you can get both, you always make sure that you're ahead if you don't lose a camp right. It's kind of a nice standard to set yourself with. In the top lane, though, we see Scion is actually going to be able to dominate Yorick at this level 3. But now that he's landed the W, it looks like likely to be even. We do know Yorick was a classic answer to Scion. Zinzao is going to engage. Will look to land the Q, does. Scion still doesn't land. Will vote with the Flash, but he's going to auto-attack Flash right back, and that's first blood going over to Atropolis.
That was a good rotation by Aeternabalus, you know, going for the Scuttle, being in the area for in case Astro Hailstorm had gotten a bit too far forward. And after that fight in the top lane, both Dwayne Charles and Astro were low, and Astro had already used his wall, so Zinzao had every opportunity to just walk in and get a free kill. It was a bit dicey, though. If he missed his his W, then he wouldn't have been able to secure it, because he didn't have the red buff slowing on his auto attacks, and so Yorick might have been able to walk away there, but it's a moot point at this time.
No, red buff definitely going to be a big advantage, but as he does pick it up and he'll go to Krogs, he's at least going to be feeling good, and when he picks up this farm here, he's going to be ahead of Nunu right by a full kill, which will, I think, at least, it should be enough for Zinzao to say that it was a worth pick. That's really what you want to say to at the end of the day, right?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. Not only did he get the kill, but it was also first blood, which is that extra 100 gold. That is something that Zinzao definitely needs to stay relevant, especially since he's facing a Nunu, who is, of the types of junglers out there, he's a control jungler. And it's very easy to lose control of the jungle to a control jungler when you're playing such a flow-heavy champion like Zinzao.
Nunu is by far one of my favorite champions, but the rework, I've been trying to play him since, it's just not the same to me. Now, Yorick is going to get more damage onto Scion. I'd like to remind everybody, too, that Yorick was the answer for most pro players in Korea and in China, LEC and LCS as well, to Scion, of all things. Odd to see Scion as the answer to it.
So we see an Ocean Drake spawning in the game here at this time. This is going to be an absolutely huge dragon for the team that could. They have built a sieging team, they've built a split-pushing team. This is a dragon they definitely want, and with Nunu, they could take it very early on. And so it comes down to the United Apes of America to try and stop it. So we're going to be looking at Aeternabalus to definitely be making his way down there to maybe try and stop it. We already see Squashua put a ward in that dragon pit just because they know how important it is.
Yeah, now, with Scion landing that slow onto Yorick, you're going to hope he lands the knock-up, and he does. I really do want to pay attention to this top lane matchup a lot, because I'm interested to see, especially at this level, how what's considered a pretty hard counter, especially as level 6 rolls around, will play out, right? Because Scion, so far, he was pretty much been losing the CS lead. He's still down by 6 minions and a cannon, so that's going to be like an extra 150 gold. I think it's just going to get worse. Scion now, though, the focus of a gank by Zinzao is Shockwave does come in. He tries to throw the soldiers out, but he knocks them both away in a great play. The flash comes out, and it's Zinzao who actually secures it with the red buff. Didn't have to see the flash out of Orianna, but she's probably going to be glad she did it anyway.
It was the red, it was his red smite, actually. The dot ticking off of that, the damage over time.
Oh, I think it's just that dot. That feels great. And this will immediately let them turn their attention on Dragon. Now, I'm not sure if it'll actually let them do that, but with Scion roaming down, it will. This is, without a doubt, their Drake. They're just going to have to make sure Nunu doesn't get in there with a Consume Smite. Will he flash for this Ocean? I don't think it's worth. He does, and Red Team secures it. That means Nunu's now caught out, and that's definitely not going to feel like the best decision, especially without picking up the Drake. Now Toaster Oven's caught out of position. He's trying to pick up a ward, doesn't even get the ward. Zinzao goes on now, walks into the bush to be able to get vision. Third Q's going to land. That's big damage. Jan going to force the flash out with that Ignite taking it. Would have just taken the auto, but it's actually Brahm's shield that's going to block it up, and that's just a slither of health left on the Caitlyn. Toaster Oven going to be lucky he survives, but it cost him everything. No summoner spells in the see.
Yeah, that was a nice swing in the favor of United Apes of America, you know. The Drake itself wasn't that important for them, but it was very important to steal that away from their opponents. And it is going to help them in the laning phase, especially for Dwayne Charles up in the top lane. You know, He's only going to be taking damage periodically, so he can use that Ocean Drake to heal up, get his mana back in the interim between those fights. And we are seeing a second Ocean Drake getting ready for the next spawn, so that's going to be another hot topic to fight over when it spawns.
Yeah, for sure. Now, our bot laners are going to back here, and this actually doesn't feel that good, right? Because they're backing as the enemy bot lane returns slain. Now, if Braum stays and Caitlyn doesn't extend up for this ward, they were actually in a position to outshove them. Now, they still may be, but it would have felt a lot better if, you're forcing this in 100% before this next wave gets there. I'm sure you see the picture when you don't back on the cannon wave.
And so we're seeing a huge wet noodle fight up in the top lane. Over in the... No, never mind.
No, you mentioned the top lane, and this is 100% going to be the fight that Astro Hailstorm is looking for as he calls down the Maiden. He's going to chunk out Charles, and he's going to heal up for quite a bit with that Q. Yorick is just honestly the answer to Sion, but props to Charles, who's been able to make it work, securing that Drake for his team and a couple of kills.
And now he's just going to be trying to stop the damage going onto his tower, as plates will just melt if Yorick wants to start taking them. He is making the decision to back here. He does not know where Aeternabilis is. And, after blowing your ultimate and being at about 3/4 HP, it's probably a good idea to not push too far past River.
Is Hail Rhino AFK? He's just taking damage. I've been watching this for a while, and they're going to 100% take advantage of this. Yeah, he's left. And it's Nunu who's now coming in. I hope Orianna gets caught out of position for this decision. I know it won't happen with the 2-level lead, and I don't think the red buff will be enough, even with Consume Smite and an ultimate. We're going to hope here, as it will blow a Galio ultimate, and that's exactly what you want to see out of your Nunu. Blows the shockwave too. He does get caught by the taunt though, and that feels all just so disingenuous. And I mean, I'm not sure who really was in the wrong there. I guess they're all bad guys. As the flash comes out of Charles.
Well, Champion 701 definitely saved Hail Rhino from death there, but he overcommitted to the fight. He's a Nunu who hasn't completed his jungle item. He hasn't really built any damage, and it was a full HP Dome Crow. So, he basically just overstayed his welcome. Yes, he did enough damage to force Dome Crow to back off, but the fact that he went past River and just stayed until the boosted one started to use his ultimate to go in, that was really the big mistake there. But we are going to pause here and hope that Hail Rhino does reconnect. So
yeah, I'm just gonna kind of pull attention over to the chat real quick, because I think the chat has actually just broken down everything that happened better than I ever could. So Jimmy, I think, is the first man on to what I thought might have even been happening, and that's the DC bait. Because it just seemed like Azir actually wanted to be standing there. I mean, he was last hitting, right? Like, he was, trying, and he was kind of shoving the wave. It looked like it was the bait. It was working pretty well for him. Jimmy, all credit to you, maybe. But I think that the bigger question, which we see out of 3 or 4 people in the chat, is why was there no pause if it was a legitimate DC? The only question, or I guess the only answer that I really have, would be that the Discord comms disconnect, right? So if you do lose power, or your computer just unplugs anything instantly, you have no way to contact your team unless you can get on Discord and message someone. That's going to take you at least 30 seconds. And that's about all it takes in League of Legends to get caught out like that. So I imagine it's a scenario like that. We actually don't have the chat logs to confirm or not. We just have Nunu saying we have a DC. This is the most tame I've actually ever seen players.
Worst case scenario was it was a blue screen, and then there's just absolutely no way to message anybody unless you use your phone or something.
And yeah, Backpack, I totally understand that you get the message that somebody DC'd, and it went on a little bit longer than that. But his DC message came much later than the actual engagement, and I think that the players might have also been thinking that you have to let the engagement play out rather than pause in the middle of an engagement, which I'm personally a big fan of. I think that's a huge part of competitive integrity, if players are allowed to pause, that you finish out plays and no one is actively trying to hurt each other. But we are going to resume the action now.
So let's get into the scope of where both teams are. Currently, we've got about a 3k gold lead on United Apes of America. They're about 100, 200 off of that 3k gold lead. And Aeternabilis steals a cheeky little blue buff from Champion 701 there and is making his way to the top lane. So I'll leave you to it once that goes down.
Yeah, so we can already tell it's going to be a top lane fight, but already there's one going down in the bot lane. Taunt goes down to Caitlyn. She's going to be immediately obliterated. Now, Dank Candle Shield is actually going to keep him alive through all of that Lucian damage, and Hailstorm will escape. I don't think he had to blow anything. Lucian ultimate does come down, though, and that's a lot more than wave clear. That's going to blow a Braum Flash. Now, though, we have Nunu and York. They're both consolidating power, and I think in the 2v2, I might actually have to give it over to the York Nunu, but I'm not sure. At 5-0 and 3-0-1 on Xin Zhao, this man might be unstoppable. Warrior's a big power spike.
Well, that's not stopping them from going in.
Yeah, now Nunu's going to take aggro first. Switch that right over to Hailstorm. They're going to take the least amount of aggro possible. Maiden gets shoved out. Really nice guy, Sion. That's going to force a Hailstorm to flash out. Nunu's going to charge the ultimate. It all goes down on the Ultralisk. Now it's going to be Azir trying to get the damage. The minions jump in and the shutdown gold over to Azir. That feels perfect. And Charles is going to get out. He's too big. They know they don't even want him. They got the shutdown gold. That's all they wanted.
A great roam by Hail Rhino, and he's rewarded for it with a shutdown, a kill and a shutdown, and they're turning it into a Rift Herald as well. That's going to be absolutely massive for getting them back into the game. If they manage to get first tower gold, as well as all the plate money that is still up on the field, that could be a huge swing into their favor. It's all going to come down to where do they want to plant that, and how much advantage are they going to be able to generate from that.
Well, so I think another thing we have to remember is that we actually have our second Ocean Drake of the game spawning. Now, I think this is one of those Drakes that people undervalue when you stack them, right? Because when you're able to stack this, you don't have to buy Warmogs on your tanks, honestly, and it feels like that all of your damage are constantly full health bar. Now, I won't be the one to tell you this. I'll quote Cutie Pie, who once said, "Guys, I think I just realized that I only die when I enter fights without a full health bar." And, like, I think that's just true. I'm actually not a Cutie Pie fan, but, like, I genuinely think that's true. Like, these second, third Ocean Drakes, huge difference.
Well, we are going to see whether or not United Apes of America managed to just secure this one. They aren't feeling much pressure as 4 people are onto that Drake right now. Nunu could try to flash over and get it, but, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even worth it for the denial, honestly. I think it's a strong advantage, and I think it's strong in the late game. The issue is I actually, as much as I want to hype it up, it's not that strong for this team. Right? It might help Sion out at the end of the day. Sion is going to benefit from the Ocean Drake. It might even let him out-sustain Yorick enough that he can live in this lane. That would be incredible. If you get that, if you get a laner that cannot just die to Yorick instantly... He has to feel confident, though. He's trading auto attacks into Yorick and not into the wall, and he's winning. Wow. I want to be Charles.
Well, now that they have the second Ocean Drake, the dynamic is actually a bit different for them. The second one actually helps them in the sieges because, not for them never mind, Sion going in.
Down everywhere. Yeah, Sion goes all the way and he's going to miss that knockup. That's the story of the lane, and he gets trapped inside the wall. The ball does go down. Oriana's going to be looking for the shockwave, pulls Hailstorm back, and that's going to be a nice shockwave that pulls him right to the opposite end, and that's going to be a kill going right over to Dom Crow.
Really good roam over by Oriana, but in return, they're going to have to get some hefty damage onto that tower because Hail Rhino is just having a field day taking some plates off of mid tower right here. Now, Dome Crow already got 4 plates off of the... Oh, plating just fell. But yeah, already got nearly all the gold that she wanted off of the mid-tier tower because... it was down to 1 plate, and now they can just go and take it for an easy first tower. However, Yorick still has that Rift Herald, and... Ooh.
Wow, Hail Rhino with his second disconnect. This is beginning to be a worrying trend, and the players 100% got the message this time and not pausing. Kind of shoots out a lot of the speculation we had last time, but we're going to pretend that we didn't see that and that he's just actively working towards fixing this, right? So, what I do at least want to draw our attention to really quickly is the fact that Sion has been enabling his team more than anyone else. Like, I know Xin Zhao's scoreline is high, but Sion has gotten 3 teammates kills now. That's incredible. As we see the next engage coming down, Xin Zhao sees his target and it's Caitlyn. She gets the heal off, but that's not going to be enough to save her. The turret shots come down and Xin Zhao's burning, but he actually isn't burning nearly enough, and Galio's going to take an extra shot just because he can, the big strong stone man.
And that's going to be first tower as well.
Azir's just sitting in the fountain. Oh!
Yeah. Not much that can be done about that at this point.
Here we go, though, as the taunt comes in, and now Nunu's 100% the target here. He's going to charge up the ultimate right before he dies. Big heal goes over to Lucian upon the kill, and that's going to heal him right up for the turret shot he's about to take. Now, we can imagine that this Ocean Drake is going to help them on the siege here, but Galio actually wants to back up now.
Yeah, they are a bit low on their resources, mana, cooldowns for their ultimates. It's probably wise for them to back off at this point. However, you know, you would imagine they would stay largely because Hail Rhino is DC. Nunu has given them that information at this point. But right now, a 4v5 with a 6,000 gold lead, like 6.5 thousand gold lead, is pretty much insurmountable at this point unless Hail Rhino does come back into this game.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this through. Maybe it was a strategy. Now we're gonna hope Azir stays in the fountain, because if you give 3 lanes of gold over to all of your carries, then they're gonna be much more fed. As Yorick is gonna go down, this is actually gonna open up a lane of CS for Braum to go take. I think this is a strategy.
Well, I don't know about the strategy aspect of that for that, but yeah, things are not looking good for the team that could. They're looking like, oh, Hail Rhino.
Braum idly protecting his tower and dancing while Toastrovin might get caught out here by the Galio.
I don't honestly know what to say at this point.
I think Caitlyn dies.
Well,
Galio has flash. He's gonna charge W flash on her, and she has E. But I guess you can just flash E and then taunt, right? And if you get the pause, you get to think that scenario out.
Yes.
I think Galio 100% wins this.
Well, you know, looking at the broader spectrum of things, the noose is definitely tightening quickly around the team that could. They're not managing to crest that hill. They're not the little train that could, unfortunately.
Well, so I'm in the camp that this is all intentional. The Azir DC in the mid lane was intentional to get the Nunu pick. We saw it almost happen. The second DC is a little bit for sympathy to give them the idea they're going to win. And a big point because they think they need those 3 lanes of CS, I'm telling you. Got to get the carries fed.
But Azir is the carry.
But, hey, he'll get fed after, dude. That's what the comeback gold's for. He's going to be getting all that catch-up XP in the jungle.
I mean, I suppose. You know, gotta have faith. We gotta put the chips on the table. We have faith in Hail Rhino. He did get that shutdown gold on Xin Zhao, so that was something. If we look at the gold value, he's actually only down by about 1,300 on Dome
He's not
Pro,
down.
So he's not.
He's the highest gold on his team. He is not down. Don't call him down when he has more gold than every other member on his team. Come on, man.
Well, I was saying compared to Dome Crow, right?
Oh, that's fair. I'm saying, Hail Rhino, he's literally ahead by 300. Yeah, no, he's ahead by 500 gold right now, and he hasn't played for 3 minutes, 4 minutes.
Yeah, so if he manages to secure his connection, things might look up for the team that could. But United Apes of America are definitely managing to go full Planet of the Apes here as they're beginning to close the noose, you know?
Okay, quick stat for everybody. Hail Rhino is the only member of his team with more money than the support of the opposing team.
Oof.
So let me tell you right now, this man is big boy. He is DCing for his team. It's not for himself. He doesn't want to be connected right now. Right now they're talking macro and strategy in this pause. Guaranteed. They're figuring this out. Hail Rhino, I'm telling you, he's talking to him. He bought a plane ticket. He might even go fly out to a few of their houses just to smack him into shape if he has to during this pause.
Well, if that's the case, he's going to have to pull the trigger after one of the second-tier towers goes down, because they can't afford to let any of the inhibitor towers go down. If one of those goes down, the base is cracked open, and the team that could is just going to be a bit too far behind, well too far behind to stop the inevitable push with the super minions. However, they still have options available towards them. They missed out on the Rift Herald. It did expire in Yorick's inventory. But they still have Yorick. They still have the Mist Herald. Caitlyn's a great sieger. Azir's a great sieger. All they really need is to set up a team fight where both teams are tiptoeing around each other as opposed to a straight up engage. It's a little bit difficult for them to do that because Sion is at a point where he can just sort of train his way in as long as he has the Galio ultimate causing that damage reduction. Xin Zhao can go with a quick follow-up, Orianna Ball with her Shockwave ultimate, and then Lucian just dashes in for some quick and easy damage. But if they can stall that initiation, then things are looking up for them. Siege comps are some of the hardest comps to actually take out of the game, so it's going to largely come down to whether or not they can just rally themselves, get Hail Rhino back into the game, and pull themselves together for that.
Yeah, that's all some really good points. Now, I've been thinking really hard about this Azir DC strat, and I've come up with just a few more benefits. So one, it's not another stream of gold, right? No matter what happens, you can't get aced. Potentially, you're not giving up 1,500 gold in a team fight. You only give up 1,200 ever. That's pretty awesome. Just saying.
That's true. That's an avenue. 200 IQ, big brain. I could not.
Now,
can't compute.
Azir's also only died in this game when all of his summoner spells and his ultimate were down. So let me tell you right now, he is so much less likely to die when his summoner spells and ultimate are both up. And those can't go down if you're in the fountain. DC.
So now, who do we need to hit? Who on the team do we need to have in order for us to get that 10 death power spike? I think I'm counting on Nunu. Champion, I need you to go I need you to champion this. I need you to hit that 10 death power spike and just steamroll over United Apes of America. You got 7 more deaths to go.
I think Nunu's actually integral to the strat. That's what you don't understand is Azir's when AFK to let his team catch up, right? Because he knew he had this massive gold lead over all of them because, like, he is the real, like, king of this mountain. Shurima Hail. So Nunu, though, because he's a jungler and because he has Consume and a Smite, he can go and he can just take all those camps and he can help out take mid lane. He's not going to miss a cannon either, so he doesn't have to last hit. Tell you, Nunu belongs in the solo lane, so Azir's just taking a break right now. He's resting up.
Hold on. You know what they could do? They could actually be planning to soup up Astro Hailstorm. You know, farm 2 lanes at once. Made in one lane, Yorick in another, farming both lanes at the same time. Super income. You know,
I like that. You know, and they made a slight miscalculation. He did go down in the top lane, but he's up in 8 seconds. He's going to be able to go right back to that. And I think Braum honestly needs to cover if that happens, because Braum he's a great source of income. You know, you give him that Knight's Vow, and you're going to stop all that Lucian and Xin Zhao damage. And then if you want to deal with the Galio Orianna, I think he's just going to have to build a Hex Drinker and be a man.
And so then it
Like
just comes
all
down
of
to
your
Toaster
teammates.
Oven playing a bit safer in the back, you know. Went a bit too far forward and is probably going to get hit by the boosted one. Great big fist up your back on that one. But, you know, Astro Hailstorm is primed and ready as soon as he comes out of the fountain.
Yeah. Now, as I continue to think this through, there are some more big benefits to this DC strat. You never have to stress about a dragon or vision, because you always have the man disadvantage, so you know that it's never your position to go try to grab either of those. So your team's actually less likely to get caught out too.
You're less stressed.
I think that's why their deaths are so low. Right, this is actually a really low death game. We're at 11 deaths at 17 minutes. Most of these games hit like 20 by this point. I think this works. I think this is a strategy.
Yeah. You just remove variables from the game so that you make it more stream.
Yeah, you just more predictable. Exactly. I'm certain you understand their strategy. Now, we're going to be resuming right now as their 10 minutes is officially up. And we're going to see if the strategy can continue. And Hail Rhino continues his rest as Braum's going to ultimate, and they really thought this strat through.
Toaster actually got away from that.
Yeah, he didn't flash, though. So, I would have liked to have seen, I guess the Braum ultimate was enough. Now, Champion's going to go low to the Orianna. Immediately dies as the smallest, saddest snowball ever just rolls into his own base.
And we're seeing a lot of harass going down in the bottom lane onto that tower. Already about a third of its HP gone. A quarter of its HP gone. But Sion coming up behind.
Oh, here we go, and it's going to be the engaging. Caitlyn just almost immediately obliterated. Now here's Dark Candle, and he's forced out of his own tower by the Redemption. All he can do is slow one, and Sion actually might go down to that tower shot. Nah, I'm sorry, he has an extra 100 HP to live for there.
And that's going to be a second tier tower in the bottom side going down now. Nuno is building a biggest snowball ever. Might be trying to do something over here.
No, he's going to ram that right into a wall. And now they're going to be setting their eyes onto this Drake, as this is going to be the first Mountain Drake of the game. That's actually going to be a really huge one coming in before the 20-minute mark. That's going to let them take Barons substantially faster.
Yeah, or even take towers substantially faster. The faster you auto-attack, the more impressive Mountain Drake is for you because of that added damage.
This game might end, honestly, in 3 minutes. Maybe 4.
And Lucian just picked up a Spear of Shojin. Gonna be activating that ultimate to get that increased cooldown reduction for every auto attack he uses. Dashing everywhere. So many double taps. Squashwa. What you doing?
Oh, Azir is still sitting AFK, but still topping his team in gold. Actually, no, Yorick has finally passed him by 50 gold. It did happen. Azir no longer topping the charts. And finally behind the Galio. It's official, and the reconnect comes in. I told you this was so planned. This man is a genius, and the shockwave does come in. Toaster Oven, he knows he has to go down here. They get the flash out of Dom Crow, and that's the best you can ask for. As now that Azir's in the game, he can come in and take that solo lane. Caitlyn's turn to AFK.
Yeah, but Astro Hail.
Sorry, actually, in the top lane. Yeah, you mentioned it, and the Ignite comes down. That's cancer for a Yorick. And yeah, that's a big Q with the Maiden on him, right? And that's exactly what it's designed to do, but it's not going to be enough. It would have been an even bigger heal if he wasn't ignited. That's what you got to think about.
Yeah, that's true, too. Oh,
Here comes Azir. He's speeding into the mid lane. Well, we told you this would happen when the inhibitors came up. Azir is ready. Now he's, of course, sacrificing the bottom turret over to the Caitlyn because he respects her as an individual and her choice to still communicate with Riot after their history. But the team backs off because they respect Azir's carry potential. Now Sion's gonna ult away screaming cowards because that's what he do, man.
Yeah, you know, it's a little weird to be screaming out cowards when you're running away, you know. Is that the French method of charging?
I really think that Azir is going to be the difference maker here, as he just came back to reclaim his gold lead. And now we have, it's the Orianna and the Sion in the bot lane. Caitlyn going to be throwing Qs, some static shift procs as well.
Well, now United Apes of America are just farming up their opponent's jungle, pushing in some waves, but it looks like they might be priming for... Oh.
Here we go, the flash comes out, and that's Hailstorm almost 100% going down, as that Redemption is going to just secure it. Lucian's going to get a big heal there, and Skaswasha goes unstoppable. Now Champion's going to be the next mark, as he's just going to run back into his base with Caitlyn's support. Now that means that they only have 2 sources of wave clear with 3 waves to clear, and Azir is just passionately auto-attacking again. That means he went AFK. Orianna's going to kill him with the ball. We don't even have to watch that fight. Is in the back end. Toaster Oven, beautiful outplays onto the Xin Zhao, even building up the Braum passive. Would have liked to have seen Champion keep that going into a 3rd stack, and maybe even a 4th. Could have caught him out, and boosted one will be the next to escape, as Dom, Pro, and Charles are in the bot lane just beating away at the inhibitors. Azir disconnects again. We can't get a pause this time as the pausing timers are up. That's the first inhibitor cracked, and now we're pushing on to the second. Tell me, what's the move for the United Apes of America?
Well, after taking both side inhibitors, they're looking to be pushing in this mid one and take it for the 3rd inhibitor. And that's going to be absolutely massive, getting 2 super minions going down each lane. It's a push that, frankly, their team comp isn't capable of dealing with at this time. They just don't have the items to be dealing with that many souped up minions. And then they could go for an easy Baron.
Here we go, though, as he engages, going to come down. Shockwave lands on the 2 of them, and I think that's going to spell the end. This is a taunt and a triple knockup, and this is what the comp is designed to do. You are watching a clinic in work here.
And they even tried to even it up for them. A nice clean 4v4.
There we go, another taunt onto the Caitlyn into the knockup. This Galio showing why he should just never, ever, ever be allowed through the draft phase. Holy God, the boosted one. That name, can someone give me a Smurf check? This man's a monster. Dude just picks up Caitlyn. Giving up. It's GG go next. 21-1 is the scoreline. Almost a perfect game for the United Apes of America.
Yeah, losing no towers whatsoever, taking all the dragons. They missed out on Rift Herald, but didn't let their opponents use it, and they only gave up one. Really good job by United Apes of America.
Yeah, if you want to be critical, you can say that they probably should have closed out. 22 minutes is about how long you'd expect the game to end if you have a lead. If you have a 5v4, you can just better go a little bit longer, but the thing is, it wasn't exactly a 5v4. Azir actually played pretty well for the time that he was there. It's unfortunate he doesn't have a stable internet connection, because I would have actually liked to have seen him continue to play. I think he would beat the Orianna in lane pretty handily, especially with that Xin Zhao. This is a different game with that situation, although we will say that the United Apes of America were substantially ahead by the point that he DC'd. I think it was 5-1.
Yeah, but we are going to end it right there for now as we get ready to jump into game number 2.
Yeah, we'll be right back, folks. Thanks for being with us. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thank you for sticking with us for what was actually quite a long pause. I hope you enjoyed the break, got some snacks, got some chips. Maybe we'll be finding all those people that we lost during the break as well. As always, I'm sit straight, and with me is it Ruhi?
It is Ruahi, although some people call me Rudy. Don't ask why. I don't know why. But anyways, we're jumping right back into it. Got all of the kinks out of their systems, and they're ready to play for game number 2. Hopefully, we see...
You shot right back up in viewers. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. So hopefully we see the team that could, with their backs against the wall, fight to take game number 2.
Hey, Darius banned, that's not really telegraphing anything. Apparently that's just has to be banned if you're playing against the team that could.
Well, you know, you gotta stop Astro from getting his main, and there's the targeting the mid laner of United Apes of America.
Main for main, and now honestly, I'm not sure if the Yorick ban is worth it. I actually think they played Sion into it really well.
I don't think the Yorick ban would be coming through at all here, as we do see a Yasuo ban probably being targeted at Astro again, or possibly the mid laner. We don't know for sure.
This is just a continuation of the bans from last time, and it looks like that next we're going to be getting Xin Zhao actually banned out this time. They really don't want to see that. They think that was a pace setter. I think that you should just play better into it first. But that's only in team play. In solo queue, I actually ban him every game.
Well, maybe if they're unwilling to give up that Nunu pick, they are banning out Xin Zhao so that they don't have to deal with that early pressure and really let Nunu get into the role of things, you know?
Man, that's why I'm just so sad about the Nunu change, because, like, honestly, huge fan of being able to be the pace setter early. Like, you used to just, like, go with a Sight Stone and Moby Boots, and you track Lee Sin.
It was cancer. What are you talking about?
That was my... Dude, I had an 80% win rate on Nunu.
Exactly my point.
Like, that's my champion. But Yorick actually banned. We thought that may not happen, but I guess they're afraid of it. I was really saying it wasn't the issue. Jace banned as well here. I think Jace is a classic North American pick, and Vayne actually was the first pick for United Apes of America.
Now, Vayne is an interesting pick. Hyper aggressive, but more overly, it's all about that late game scaling, as she doesn't have a very strong mid game presence. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play that in. She does have a low range, some decent damage amplification early on into the game, so she's able to trade decently well in an all-out brawl as opposed to just poking. But it's, you know, vein spotting is also a game, a little mini game that people have, so that's going to be interesting to see. And Olaf being picked up with the Leona, I do like that. Olaf, you just can't stop, you know. Once he pops his ultimate, unCCable pain train going towards any squishy, either mid lane, jungle.
There's one
if they
crazy
chain
answer
carry.
to him. You say he can't be stopped. Do you know how you stop Olaf on ultimate?
A wall?
You wait 5 seconds.
Now that's not stopping it. That's waiting it out. That's different. That's
I'm
different.
just saying, man. It's a pretty short duration. You know, you got to use that right. I do think that Leona's a good pick, especially into Vayne, right? Because she locks Vayne down at every single stage of the game. Very important. Also, as a ADC main friend of mine used to always say, Leona just does the work for me. She's my favorite support.
We are seeing United Apes of America picking up the Nunu here. That's an interesting call, considering the team that could had Nunu last game. It might be that United Apes of America is trying to flex on the team that could, you know, being like, this is how you play Nunu. Or it might just be that this is going to be a more comfortable pick versus the Olaf for them. Hard to say.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that could be going down. Sometimes, honestly, you just don't know, too. Like, if you've ever been inside of one of these calls, like, you can just make mistakes. You can find out that somebody doesn't own a champion you thought that they owned last second. I guess they're using pro drafts. That won't happen in this situation, but all sorts of things can honestly just kind of go down last second that you don't expect.
Now, the Brand being picked up, he's probably going to be in the mid lane. You know, we already have a lead. Is likely the support. However, some people have been trying to flex her up to the top lane. I know, like, Boy has tried something like that in past videos, but more often than not, you just see Leona being pigeonholed into the support role. So it's likely that's going to be a mid Brand, which is actually scary. Brand support does absolutely garbage amounts of damage. Like, not bad damage, like really good damage. And having him in the mid lane where he's going to have much more gold income, so he's going to get those items much faster, it's going to be just disgusting the amount of damage a Brand is going to put out.
Brand, I'd have to agree, is he can be strong. I think the issue is putting him in the mid lane. You talk about all the damage that he puts out, you really stress it, but he puts that damage out in the support role just as well as he puts it out, honestly, in the mid lane. And I don't think that him getting the extra gold and AP items actually makes the biggest amount of difference for him. Yeah, I'm not exactly that sold on Brand. Maybe you've seen something I haven't in him. I do think that the United Apes of America have picked a really standard team here. They've locked in the Nunu kind of like you assessed, right? They've then gone and they've kind of locked in more of that same lockdown with Oriana. And I think the Vladimir will actually suit the top lane even better here. I can't imagine what the answer to this is going to be.
Yeah,
Well,
as you said.
Gnar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, as you said, both team comps have been locked in at this point. United Apes of America have a really nice, well-rounded team-ish, kind of well-rounded. You know, they have their back line, they have their front line. Braum is a peeler. Vladimir is like a mid line kind of deal because he's tanky-ish and he's also a hefty damage dealer. But it's really about the scaling. You know, we're talking about a lot of late game scaling here on United Apes of America. Really, Oriana is the only one who's relevant at all stages in the game. Whereas the team that could, just talking damage-wise, right? Whereas the team that could, we've got that Olaf, Leona, Brand, Tristana, Gnar. You know, this is something. A lot of options available for them. They can do those team fights. If they manage to get Gnar into Mega Gnar at the right opportune moments, then that just opens up so much more CC and control for them in the team fights. The Olaf pick doesn't exactly work out too well for them because there's no hard CC keeping Olaf away from the squishies initially, outside of like Braum knockup or Vayne just knocking him backwards. Maybe a shockwave as well, but there's just not enough CC to sort of justify the early Olaf pick in my opinion.
Alright, that's all pretty fair to say. I guess we're going to have to see how this kind of boils down in the team comps, because as we know, when you get down into the battlefield, everything can kind of change, right? As Mike Tyson always liked to say, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah, every plan never meets the field of battle, or never survives the field of battle is actually how. And yeah, we're seeing right into it. United Apes of America setting up that defensive line across all of the jungle openings. A similar suit coming out of the champion sitting on the ball from Dome Crow, though, so that's pretty nice. Probably going to see a similar opening as well where it start. However, Eternabilis, I'm gonna learn how to pronounce your name at some point in time. But looks like he might be starting up at his blue buff instead. Might, quotation marks.
Minions have spawned.
No, I really would have liked to have actually seen an invade out of the team here with the Braum. I mean, Vayne not the strongest, but with Hail of Blades actually becomes that when you have Braum. This just, I think, is the right play for them. Especially because on the other side, all they have is the ability to go in, and it's kind of dependent on an undertow from Olaf slowing 2 or 3 members. Alas, though, we don't get that. We get the classic bot lane start. And it looks like Nar's actually going to get caught out here by Vladimir. Tell me, how does this work out here? Because I actually think Charles may not come away as big as he thinks, and Nar doesn't actually trade back.
Well, Vladimir doesn't have a lot of damage. Could have probably walked him down using his bone meringue, but it looks like that's not going to be the case, and so Dwayne Charles just gets a lot of free harass onto him. A bit unfortunate. Now Astro Hailstorm is dealing with a health deficit, and that's going to definitely play a factor into their laning phase for this early on.
Yeah, for sure. Now, as we see, Toaster is actually going to get in the shove here with Tristan elected to level up the E instantly. That's a choice, don't forget that. Now, Ahri, though, is actually going to be knocking down Hailstorm surprisingly low. This is not what you expect to see a Gnar ever doing, right? Gnar is traditionally a pick who does this to other people.
Yeah, most definitely, especially when he gets a 3-hit proc doing % health damage. Gnar can be an absolute menace, but when you're dealing in the range versus range up in the top lane, the dynamic changes somewhat. A large reason for why Gnar can be a bully in the top lane is because he has that range advantage over a melee champion. However, facing Vladimir, he's now range versus range. Now, he could be trading evenly into the Vladimir, but Vladimir also has that free sustain, and so as long as he's playing back and playing safe, he doesn't really have to worry about Astro Hailstorm pushing him out of lane.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from there. Nunu's actually can't be slowed when he's pulling out that. That's going to allow him to avoid the undertow. Now, the biggest snowball ever is going to go crashing into the mid lane is that's actually going to force a flash at a champion. There's 3 members collapsing from the side of United Apes of America.
Yeah, that was a really good force of engagement by Eternabilis. Champion hadn't even cleared any of his top jungle, and now we're seeing them on his red buff. Looks like, yeah, they managed to steal it from him as well, and so he's gonna be missing out on some golden XP.
Please get that! No! Oh, the auto attack lands on Leona. I'm sorry to cut you off. I just hate watching Braum's passive not get stacked when it can. It's so satisfying.
No, it's fine.
Here we go, though. Is going to be Hailstorm getting engaged on now, and it looks like that the Gnar actually may have to flash out and into the wrong side of the map, and instead he walks right in the middle of the river. Vladimir flashes knowing he has nowhere to go. This is a guaranteed kill and first blood going over to the Vlad. And really good on Alternabilis to let him have it.
Oh yeah, Eternabilis has had great rotation so far in the top side, managing to force Champion 701's flash away with the rotation from his teammates, taking his red buff and immediately ganking up in the top lane. Dwayne Charles getting that kill is actually pretty massive. Vladimir is an absolute monster in the late game, and the sooner he can reach those items and that scaling, the better it is for your team. So getting him that first blood kill is leaps and bounds much better than if Nunu had gotten it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's actually going to let him just control the pace of the lane. He actually does go back, though, without an item. I really think we all have to make note of this. Vladimir doesn't have the item advantage right now. That's Gnar who does with the Null Magic Mantle, and it's going to be another gank coming in out of Nunu. He did save his flash, too. Hailstorm 100% escapes this, and they're just going to put the timer on that one. That'll be back up at the 10-minute.
Now, it isn't frozen. The lane is not frozen up in the top lane, so it is going to be crashing towards Astro Hailstorm. He could be playing a bit safer and missing out on a few CS. This would mean that he's giving up priority in lane, but he's kind of already lost it at this point.
Yeah, as Charles is going to keep on pushing him back. I think once you give up that flash, you've really lost any chance to kind of win the solo kill too. As Toastdriven now going to be the focus of the poke. Q misses out of Braum, but that's okay because you get the W out of Tristana anyway. Feels like it connected then.
Now we do see an Ocean Drake spawning here. Ocean Drake has been a really hot Drake that has been spawning in a lot of games that I've seen so far. I don't know if they changed the algorithm or maybe it's just random chance, but it definitely seems to be cropping up more and more. For each team though, I definitely like it for both teams actually. Vladimir would absolutely love an Ocean Drake, especially later on in the game. Dome Crow likes it, but action in the bottom lane.
Yeah, here we go, and Toastdriven's going to be the focus again. The Ignite comes down, they're going to land the stun this time, and that's going to be the third proc going over to Saskatchewan. That's going to be the second kill of the game, and here comes the biggest snowball ever. Lands it beautifully, will connect onto Leona, but Saskatchewan's the one that takes the tower aggro, means she's going to have to back up. Really heads up play there, not to greed.
Wonderful engage onto Toaster Oven. He'd already burned all Apes, no flash. Or actually, Flash and Heal was burned in that last exchange. But yeah, and now we're seeing Nunu going straight for that Ocean Drake. That's going to be a pretty big pickup for his team, keeping them sustained in the laning phase, and it's even going to scale later on when they start to go to other such fights.
Yeah, now Nunu's actually going to be soloing out this Drake with the cover of the Scuttle. I think this is actually one of the strongest Drakes to go for because they don't expect this most of the time. Issue going to be he doesn't have flash and he's stuck in there, forced to smite to stay alive, and this has really just been one big leash. As Champion now knows he can just beat this down and smite it with an E. That deals true damage, and now Ultranabalist is going to be on the wrong end of this as Tristan is going to be looking to pick up the kill here. He goes super low and is picked out among three of them. Now the boosted one gets Ignite thrown down onto him. He gets a shield from Oriana. Tristana jumps on over the wall to protect from the other end, and that's a double kill as the jumping bean starts going off. Toastdriven is looking for kills, and instead he's going to settle for the mid lane though. But with this big of a wave coming in with a brand in the mid, tell me, are they going to get these platings and will they take the turret?
Well, when you're dealing with 4 people in the mid lane and Dome Crow by himself, no ultimate, and there's a wave there, yeah, they're going to be able to take at least 2, maybe 3. It looks like they're only going to be able to get 2 here. And that's actually a pretty big swing for the side of the team that could. Squashwa and the boosted one should have probably rotated towards Dragon after that initial fight in the bottom lane where they killed Toaster Oven just so that they could help Eternabalist take that Ocean Drake, but instead they gave up priority and it allowed Champion to just go in, take it, and force everyone out. And it just snowballed from there.
Yeah, speaking of snowballs, my boy Nunu is just out here representing. All the shouts out to him. I think he's just been enabling his team as much as he can. His scoreline doesn't really show it, but Ultranabalist did a last game doing it again. This is a jungler that I think is going to start to deserve some bans.
Possibly. It's all going to come down to what he achieve in about the next 4 minutes. Nothing huge really crops up in the next 4 minutes outside of Rift Herald spawning in that time. But if he manages to secure a lead in a lane for his team, that's going to be absolutely massive. The lead that was in the bottom lane for Squashwa has now gone down the drain with Toaster Oven picking up 2 kills there. And so, who knows where he's going to set his sights. He might try to go up to the top lane. It's got an absolutely massive lead. 20 CS over Astro Hailstorm. And a kill. And so, you know, a full level as well. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, not exactly super massive, but definitely massive. As the gold lead actually fluctuates back into the favor of the United Apes of America, Gnar does get the engage though, and now it's going to be Charles who's stuck here out of position. He does get the Hemo Plague down onto Gnar. That's going to guarantee a small heal. Gets back a little bit of HP. Now, because he didn't actually deal any damage to the Gnar, he's not going to get back nearly as much as you'd expect. But that Q could land, and that would have killed! Oh, he's lucky that that lands onto the Olaf. Hailstorm has to care here. Even with the Gnar bar so close to charged, you can get bursted down by Vladimir, honestly. Now, though, I don't think he can. It's pretty confirmed, he said.
Dome Crow has rotated up towards the top side, but Hail Rhino is also nearby. If we see a fight going down, it's going to be a lot of damage coming from both sides really quickly.
Yeah, just such a stressful situation as the Undertow does land on Charles. He has no business being in this position, and like you say, Hailstorm comes in, that's going to force his flash out. His mid laner and his jungler rotated up, that's going to force another heal coming in out of the Orianna. Now they're focusing in on the Hailstorm, and here comes the Vladimir. Remember, he can still heal up if he gets into the fight, but he doesn't have Hemo Plague available. In the bot lane, though, we get the engage coming in out of the Orianna. She's going to land on the bottom, the big shield's up there. Attack out of Tristana, the ultimate's going to land down onto Caitlyn. The jumping beam goes out, but she's going to get stunned up by Braum. Caitlyn's on the wrong side of the team fight now. She nets herself back away, doesn't get hit by the turret though. Braum's going to be the one knocking down Toaster, but Vayne's the one to pick up the shutdown golden. Now all of it goes down onto Leona, and Leona's the big focus of the fight, but they're not going to be able to pick up the kill. They're going to shove out. And while all of that's happening in the top side, they just reset into their regular positions.
Oh, that bottom fight was definitely a sight to behold. Squashua was just having a hard time getting all that CC Dank Candle was throwing around. He got hit by the ultimate, he got locked down by the Q, got Zenith Blade onto boosted one. Like, Dank Candle did some dank plays down there, but it just wasn't enough to save Toaster Oven, unfortunately. The Buster Shot just falling short of getting Squashua under tower range, and taking one tower shot might have been the difference in that fight.
Yeah, no, really good job of them to kind of avoid that, and that's why, you know, you gotta make note when you see them just making incredible plays. Just calculated, honestly, and that's kind of an overused word. I hate using it myself. Nar will pick up that cannon, though, as Vladimir misses his own. Feels bad. The E will connect, though. Summoner are going to go down. While that's happening in the bot lane, we're going to see the reset now as the waves crash. It's not a cannon wave, though.
So now we're seeing a dance around a Fire Drake. Now, a lot of people really love Fire Drakes. It's just a straight-up damage boost, and I mean, you can't go wrong with extra damage, but now we're going to see everybody sort of gathering around here. We've already got 4 people on here from the team that could, and meanwhile 3 people are hovering around it with United Apes of America. But it looks like both teams are choosing to not exactly go for it yet. Hail Rhino getting that blue buff. That's going to be nice for him, just spamming abilities, especially in the lane. And during sieges, just keeping his mana topped up, getting that 10% extra cooldown reduction, just nice in general.
No, another big note of this is the CS differentials. If you check, there's actually what appears to be a 24 CS lead for the Vladimir on top, but actually we get the fight going down here. As the Undertow is going to connect, the teleport does come down. Now the Leona's the first one to go in. She's going to land the ultimate down onto the back line. The shield comes out from Leona. Braum's still the first one to go down, though. The Drake's going to reset on the back line. Charles is going to be able to heal up through all this damage, but he does give the Tristana bomb down onto his carries, and that's going to drop Vayne low. A shot comes in from the Infernal Drake. Vayne might just be the target, but while that's said, on the front end, it's just Orianna dealing devastation. Unparalleled. And that's going to be United Apes of America taking the fight.
A really good job by United Apes of America. Dank Candle's Solar Flare had barely caught boosted one in the slow area. The stun didn't catch anybody. Astro Hailstorm managed to turn Gnar in the middle of that fight and stun 2 people, but it was just too little too late, and a lot of positioning and micro-positioning went right for United Apes of America in order for them to secure that win in that fight, because a lot of things could have gone wrong for them if they had been caught by a few stuns earlier on, especially for Squashua or Dome Crow, but just really good job in your positioning, making sure that Dank Candle had nobody else to go on to except for boosted one.
Yeah, I was really afraid for the Vayne there, who actually, of all the people, ended up in just a bad spot. A little bit of her own, and a lot because of luck, too. Right, like, why does the Infernal Drake target her of all of the people standing there?
Yeah.
And, like, I understand that there is a logic to it, right? Like, you know, it's like, I guess whoever's closest to it when it first scans for a hit is always gonna, you know, get targeted by it. But, like, she seemed to be pretty close enough distance away that, like, whoever was closest was really just, like, whoever it seemed to scan first. Like, that was just...
It sort of goes like last team to hit it, then it targets the closest of that team to attack, and so I guess Squashua was just unfortunate in that regard. But you know, shoutouts to Dwayne Charles as well in that fight, tanking just an absolute huge amount in the middle of 4 people. A champion trying to go on to boosted one there, not managing to find much to purchase. But so with Dragon out of the equation, we've now only got Rift Herald up for neutral objectives. So this is where we see United Apes America properly rotating their bottom lane up to the top side with Squashua and Boosted One, and Dwayne Charles down in the bottom side dealing with 2 people. He's going to be able to easily farm up and sustain through Dank Candle and Toaster Oven. He's in no real risk of death there, so a really good rotation and macro play coming out of United Apes America here.
Yeah, they're definitely playing to their win conditions, and they did pick up this Infernal Drake, which is just absolutely devastating on champions that are looking to deal things like, I don't know, true damage.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah.
And Vladimir, another one where, I mean, with his scaling, actually, his AP numbers get higher than most in the game, and he actually does land the Hemo play. He's going to flash forward. He knows he secured this kill onto Toaster Oven, especially with the heal there. There's no doubt in my mind. The Ignite actually might be enough, though, just to get the return kill, though. Still, he might be able to heal up with a well-timed Q. Remember, that doesn't cost him any HP, and with the Bloodwell coming back up, he's going to get a nice chunk off of a minion here. That's going to leave Vladimir alive to keep on split pushing. Yeah, that was calculated.
It got a little dicey there in the bottom lane. I almost thought he would fall to Toaster Oven, actually, but...
There we go,
yeah.
That Storm's going to focus on... Well, so you have to think, that went just about as bad as it could have gone for him, and Gnar just immediately obliterated there, and I think this game is just beginning to look sad here as United Apes of America push forward. But yeah, that went about as bad as it could have gone for Vladimir, right?
Yeah.
And he's still one-handedly.
And they just BM'd poor Astro up in the top lane, deciding to kill him before taking that nearly dead tower, and the champion now feeling the brunt of Nunu.
Yeah, no, Nunu actually just ulted there, and he gave the mark over to... I think that they're just trolling a little bit here. Maybe they're trying to give us an exciting broadcast. Definitely no reason for Dom Crow to be staying in lane this long, especially when Leona shows too.
And we are seeing Rift Herald being taken up at this point. It might be used for a strong mid lane push, but it looks like the team that could is not willing to give up this neutral objective.
Yeah, but it looks like as we get this 4v3, it's going to turn into a 4v5, and that's Gnar sitting in the top lane. They still pick it up. Nunu's secure is just way too strong to deal with, even as an Olaf. Here comes the Vayne, though. That's the stun onto Olaf, and he goes unstoppable, but it's not going to stop the fact that you just lost your whole health bar. Gotta go unstoppable before that stun connects.
That should be a Rift
Here we go,
Herald.
though, and Charles is going to take a little bit of aggro. Yeah, so we're not actually going to get the Rift Herald summoned. I think that he's going to take that into the bot lane right now because they have the 4v advantage.
Yep.
And even
That's
if
what he's
Tristana
doing.
goes there, she might be able to stop him, though, with the ultimate. And no, he's going to get it off. And that means Toaster Oven is now going to be the focus of a little bit of trouble from Nunu as he does get knocked back by the Buster shot. Now Toaster Oven finally going to actually be the focus here by Alter Abelis. And he goes so incredibly low. Actually lands the pot shots, though, onto the Herald. That's the type of play I like to see. Totally selfless. Hemo play comes out from the Vladimir, and Leona goes down. But the turret stays alive, and Vlad has no ultimate for the next team fight. They are going to lose the Drake here, but all things considered, it could have gone much, much worse.
Yeah, managing to stop the Rift Herald from actually taking the tower was probably the best scenario that could have come out of it. Toaster Oven did not die. Nearly got soloed by a Turnabilis who has no armor items outside of a single cloth, and just no damage items either. And so Tristana definitely is a late game champion, but needs to start hitting some of those late game AD boosting items in order for her to start dealing with these tanks that are just cropping up.
Yeah, so that power spike that we're waiting for on the Tristana is actually going to be her 3-item power spike. So that's going to entail picking up an Infinity Edge and then probably another Zeal item, I'd imagine. But she actually has some flexibility in the third. And yeah, it's definitely a little late. You wouldn't have 3 items by 20 minutes, I don't imagine, unless you're doing particularly well. In this game, right, Vayne performing better than I think everybody, especially statistically and economically. And
Yeah.
Vayne is only on her 2nd item, sitting on the dagger, and she's looking to be turning that, I believe, into... Oh, what actually is that?
I don't honestly know. Oh, maybe a Phantom Dancer, possibly?
I think it's a static shiv. Maybe a Phantom Dancer.
Well, Baron is now on the field, and as we've seen, anytime a neutral effective is taking, start grouping immediately for it. However, some pings are going down to defend this tower as a 3-man push is going for Toaster.
Yeah, Toaster goes incredibly low from that. Hailstorm actually stands in place really quickly, and now it's going to be Charles just focusing him down. He does have his ultimate up in a couple of seconds, so he'll be able to kill the Gnar in the 1v1, but I don't think he's actually going to need it if I'm being honest here. And he does use it on him. I think this might be a waste, as he's going to have to land the Q, and Gnar's always going to be able to escape. The Ari Chark does land, but it's just not enough to get rid of Hailstorm. Now, Hailstorm's looking to charge up that Gnar bar, and all he wants to do is deny him of it, as it's 4 men just clearing out that bot wave. We can imagine this is a mid-turret already being seeded over to the United Apes of America because of that macro decision.
I would say absolutely, but it looks like they're going to be able to save it at about a third of its HP. So that's pretty good, but...
Well, you have to ask at the cost of what, and it's at the cost of their HP bars, right? They do save their turret, but now they're sitting at quarter HP on some of them, but they're down substantial chunks. This is how you lose fights before they begin.
Well, Astro Hailstorm looking to win a fight before it begins here, as he's going in on Dwayne Char. Never mind.
Yeah, so it's really hard to win fights against Vladimir when he has the lead. As someone with 7, yeah, I think I'm thinking of a Mastery 7 Vladimir. I could tell you the champion does one thing well, and that's he keeps on living when he's ahead.
Yeah, but it's also hard for Dwayne Charles to get the kill solo onto Astro Hailstorm.
Oh my
Astro
God.
Hailstorm can just perma-slow him, leap away whenever Dwayne Charles tries to go in on him, as we saw in the fights previous. And so it definitely a lot of back and forth, despite the pretty hefty lead for Dwayne Charles up in the top lane.
Yes, this has actually been a very different type of Vladimir. Normally, what Vladimir excels at, and what you'll see Vladimir's do in team play, is fight team fights very frequently. Because over a long, drawn-out team fight, people like Vladimir and Vayne deal a lot of damage. And Vladimir's someone that has to be dealt with, right? So, like, this is kind of what I see when I see this team comp. Is I see, like, the Orianna is more for peel than engage, right? She's kind of like a secondary engage that can pile on to people. But I think when you're as far ahead, like, none of that really ends up panning out. So it's been kind of odd to see this split pushing Vladimir, where he's just taking solo kills with Hemo Plague, right? Because normally you're using that with a team. For those of you who don't know what his ultimate actually does, because a lot of people don't, he basically causes everyone to take 10% increased damage from all sources for 4 seconds. That's your friends and any dragons or barons or any damage they take, any damage at all. After that's done, he's going to deal, right now it's like a 400 damage chunk, which is pretty big, right? And then he's also going to heal for a portion of all the damage that's dealt.
I remember when that Hemo Plague gave 20% damage increase. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was absolutely devastating. But that damage increase, I think that's really important to note, right? So in team fights, that can be a massive difference. Like right there with 20% extra damage, Toastrevin's dead.
Yeah, and boosted one had already
He
cut
might be
him
dead
off.
anyway, as it's just going to cost an extra flash this time, not an ultimate. A little bit longer of a cooldown.
Looks like Dank Candle getting run down here.
Yeah, and I don't think he actually has a choice to go anywhere except right back to the fountain. And so Swana wants to send him there by himself. Here comes the boosted one, though, to steal the kill. Unfortunate. Now, I'd like to see them ARAM.
Well, you might get your opportunity pretty quickly. It's going to be a second Fire Drake here for United Apes of America. And with such a commanding lead, you know, they have a nearly 10k gold lead at this point. They need to recognize that they have such a substantial lead and really force a strong fight instead of tiptoeing around each other at this point. They have the tools available for them. They have the stats available for them. Even if they get CC'd into oblivion, they're going to be able to survive just because of the raw base stats of their champions being over-leveled and from the items that they've built. And so they should be looking for any sort of fights. Even if the fight starts out poorly for them, they should be looking for these fights and then going for potentially Baron or a tower off of that.
Well, so they did get the Drake, and they're going to be setting their eyes onto the Baron. The issue is that they have to actually use the Baron to pick up turrets, right? It's that or they have to bait it. Now, I think that one of the best strategies to always employ is to say that they have to come in. Like right now, the Olaf, he has to face check there, right?
Yeah.
If you're pinching that area, you can actually pick him out. Same thing, they have to shove this wave. If you're waiting in this mid bush and Tristana decides to push up, even into the position she just did, that's a flash engage coming in out of Braum and she dies, right? I think that if you play around your vision and you set up proper vision when you have the lead around these objectives, you'll actually be able to find picks very easily and objectives even easier.
Yeah, but kill bushes are also a bit of a problem because if they do group up too closely, Dank Candle can land a solar flare, and that would be 4 or even, forbid, 5 of them all stunned up, followed by Astro Hailstorm going in, turning Meganar. Champion just starting to go in, throwing a full man, you know, a couple of axes, but really it's the Hail Rhino brand damage that would just tear them to shreds if they group up too closely. And so they do have to be a little bit careful about their grouping. So the Death Bush, maybe if they grouped up in 2 areas like you had mentioned in one of these scenarios, that would be better for them. But a single Death Bush might be the end for them before that fight even began.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're actually not even going to get one Death Brush, as it's just a Braum in a bush alone, and his shield placed the wrong way, but he does angle it just to block out the right amount of damages. Here comes down the Brand ultimate. They're going to have to uncouple if they want to survive this. That's dealing untold amounts of damage on the backline, but Vayne heals up so much onto Toaster Oven. That's a double kill going on to Charles, though unfortunately the camera didn't actually follow that. What we got to see was the team burning on the back end, and that's actually going to be a 3 for none. As here we go on to number 4, Toaster Oven going to use the Buster Shot to get him away, knocks him back, and beautiful flash from the Squashwa. Never even let go of that auto attack. Just so fluid.
And it looks like they are going to use that opportunity to potentially get Astro Hailstorm.
Yeah, I think that's the right play. You take him, you take this middle turret, and then you set your eyes onto the Baron, because I think you can do all 3. At least they should be getting this mid turret. Unfortunately, they set their eyes right onto Baron. They're probably screaming at Vayne, we can't take this without you, where are you? At 10-0 and 4, it feels a little cumbersome.
Yeah, they do need Vayne to do it with some modicum of speed, but they were under no pressure as Champion 701 was still well away from the Baron. They could have freely taken that tower. They do end up getting the tower anyways. So all in all, they still get what they wanted from that fight. Now they've gone back, they've put that gold onto the map. I mean, Eternabilis still needs to go back and put his gold onto the map, but that's only amounting to 924 gold. So he's probably going to stay on the map, and they're going to use this Baron buff to either group up for a 5-man push or let Vladimir do his split push thing while they group up as a 4-man. But it looks like they're actually going for a 1-1-2 with Nunu potentially floating between 2 lanes. Never mind, I'm wrong again.
That's fair. As it looks like here, though, it's going to be Vayne just absolutely destroying Toaster Oven. And now it's the Hemo play going down, but it's going to be a flash out of Charles as Gnar jumps over the wall. He's looking to get a kill. Summoner area comes out. There's going to be the sword, but the sword doesn't connect. Unfortunate.
And what's really unfortunate here is they have too many players up in the top lane. Was the only one guarding bottom side, and as soon as he fell, you know, that's a tower, inhibitor, instant rotation to the mid, and that's probably going to be tower there as well. Oof. We're seeing Nunu going in for an engage here. It doesn't actually get the engage, just chasing people off and managing to pick up that mid inhibitor. And now they instantly rotate up to the top. They've had the waves in such a beautiful area in order for them to be able to rotate these instances. And now they're picking up a 3rd tower free of charge. And they're just going to be able to freely siege down this top as super minions are going to start pushing down the side lanes. They might even take this tower before a super minion threatens the base. As a fight starts to break out over here, Swashwa going legendary onto him. Oh man.
Yeah, they all get knocked back in, and that's just absolutely devastating. The Nunu charges the ultimate through the entire fight, but it's actually going to be Toaster Oven who stays alive, finds a way to pick up 2, and all shouts out to this man for continuing to go through such a hard-fought game.
Most definitely, but it looks like it's going to be cut short as Squashwa. Ooh. Man, Toaster Oven still managed to get away, but Squashua picking off that Hail Rhino, pushing in for the base. Super Minions are about to come up. They're already on the Nexus Towers. One's about to go down. Toaster Oven trying his damnedest to get people away.
Ooh.
Champion 701 is back up.
I was getting
Woo.
excited.
And they're backing off for a Cloud Drake.
Red team's
Let's go. Cloud Drake back, going for the kill.
Yeah, actually, I consistently disagree with calls that don't involve ending the game. But that's because I think that especially at this level, you have a high propensity to throw.
Well, after taking all 3 inhibitors in such quick succession, they have a huge window of opportunity for them to push in. However, after that Drake, they have no excuse whatsoever to hold off. There's no other objectives on the map except for the Nexus. All they have to do is wait for their 3 members to come up the mid lane and then group up and push in for the final wave. If they manage to get pushed off, which is very unlikely as they are 15,000 gold in the lead, it looks like it's a done deal. United Apes of America are gonna be bringing home the gold. Nunu goes.
Here we go, though, is it's still another team fight to be had. Don't forget, you can always throw even without towers. Now, though, it's going to be Toaster Oven and Champion fighting the Nunu on the back end. He gets charged with full ultimate. He's going to take down the Olaf to half health. And half health goes Nunu himself as Hail Rhino's been chased into the base. And it's going to be Vladimir going down to the fountain. You can't actually use your W to pull out of that. And now it's going to be the Nunu going down in the 3v1. All eyes, though, are on the Nexus. And it's Braum who's actually whacking away on it. Dom Crow, please hit that Nexus, my boy. And the
Good guy,
boosted
Braum.
one with Vayne are the ones doing it. Good guy Braum is the way to put it. He really must be boosted. He understands that kills don't win games, Nexuses do.
Yeah, a bit of padding of the score, trying to go for that, and Dwayne down to the spawn turret, and Nunu was getting ham blasted by 3 people all at once for a good portion of that. It could have been, if Boosted One was not hammering away at that Nexus, we might have actually seen the United Apes of America being beaten back there, but they do close it out. Boosted One securing that for his team. Good job, everybody. Oh, and look at that damage. Vayne just off the charts. More than twice the amount of damage anybody else had put into the game. Just doing work. Whew!
Yeah, that's quite a bit of damage coming in out of the Vayne. I mean, that's exactly what you expect when you're playing a true damage champion that deals max HP damage, right? That's kind of the Vayne way. It's exactly how she does it. We are kind of surprised, though, to see Tristana not beat out the Brandon damage. Brand, traditionally a high damage champion, being true damage himself, right? But Tristana just felt like she was putting in some type of work there. Maybe just didn't get that chance to hit the items that she wanted to.
Well, it's inherently hard to beat a Brand's damage because he does so much % health damage, and it's all AoE as well, except for his Q. So I don't actually blame Toaster Oven for not being able to do more damage than Hail Rhino, because all Hail Rhino has to do is hit like 1 or 2 pillars of flame, and that's like a couple hundred, if not like 1.5 thousand damage racked up into his stats very easily.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that extra damage is at least going to be what pads him out and kind of, pushes him over the edge on Tristana. Hail Rhino, though, definitely not a bad player, just having some connection issues, and that can happen to any of us, right? We've all had bad days, we've all had good days, we've all tried to siphon Walmart's internet.
Now, for me personally, who I give MVP of the United Apes of America, it's a bit difficult. Honestly, game 1 was a bit of a gong show, so there's not much to go off of it there. There is a little bit, but honestly, I want to give it to Aternabilis. He had a lot of pressure in game number 1 in the early game before we had connection issues. And game number 2, Aternabilis again was in the areas he needed to be. He managed to secure dragons, neutral objectives, getting off the counter gank. Well, there weren't so many counter ganks as there were just straight up ganks, but securing a lead for Dwayne Charles in the top lane, helping out Squashwa and boosted one down in the bottom lane. He didn't really have to go in the mid lane at all, so Dome Crow was kind of on his own. But Eternabilis, for me, is definitely the MVP.
I'd have to agree wholeheartedly. I sang his praise through the entire series, and I don't think I have anyone else that I could really mention off as being the MVP except for Alternabilis, and I'm sorry I never got your name right, buddy.
And so, what a way to close out a series for this, the Rampage. Whew. I'll let you do the outro. I'm no good at it.
All right, well, thank you all for having joined us. It was great spending time with you, and thank you for all of you who were actually willing to talk with me in the chat. That means the world to me that you're willing to interact. I'm Sit Straight. You can find me around. You can find me anywhere, really. You can look me up, too. I'm sure you'll find me there. I'm here with Ruahi.
Yep.
Hey,
That's
look
me.
at that. I made the pronunciation and didn't have to butcher it like I'm sitting on Ellis Island. All right, everybody, have a great night, and thanks for being with us.